The train doors closed with a sharp sound, and everything changed in that second. Emily Carter felt it before she understood it. A shift in the air. A silence that didn't belong to the place. The low vibration of the train moving forward didn't drown it out. Her chest tightened, and she lifted her eyes without knowing why. That was when she saw him. He was standing 2 rows ahead, one hand holding the overhead rail, the other gripping a small black bag. He looked calm, but something in his posture said he was always ready to move. His jaw was tense. His eyes were focused, alert, as if he didn't trust stillness. The train lurched forward, and a woman stumbled near him. He moved without thinking, steadying her with a firm hand. Polite, controlled, protective. Emily looked away too late. He noticed. Their eyes met, and the moment stretched longer than it should have. There was no smile, no greeting, just recognition, not of a face, but of something familiar beneath the surface. Something unspoken. Her heart reacted before her mind could catch up. She looked down, pretending to check her phone, even though the screen was dark. Her pulse had quickened for no reason she could explain. She told herself it was nothing. Just a stranger. Just a long day. But when she looked up again, he was walking toward her. "Is this seat taken?" he asked. His voice was low, steady. Not soft. Not cold. Just honest. She shook her head. "No." He sat across from her, leaving enough space to be polite but not enough to ignore. The train picked up speed. Outside, the city blurred into motion. Emily crossed her legs and tried to breathe normally. She wasn't used to being affected like this. Not anymore. She had learned how to keep distance, how to stay in control. Still, something about him made her chest feel tight, like she had forgotten how to breathe properly. They sat in silence for a few seconds. And more. Most people filled silence with noise. He didn't. She noticed the small scar near his eyebrow. The way his fingers rested calmly on his knee. The way his eyes occasionally lifted, not to stare, but to check if she was okay. "You're not from around here," he said. She looked at him again. "What makes you think that?" "Your shoes," he answered. "They're not made for this city." That caught her off guard. She let out a short breath that almost turned into a laugh. "And what city would that be?" "New York," he said. "You walk like you're visiting, not surviving." She studied him now. "And you sound like you've been here too long." He nodded once. "Long enough." Something about that answer felt heavy. Like it carried a story he wasn't offering. "I'm Emily," she said, surprising herself. "Ethan," he replied. "Ethan Walker." The way he said his name was calm, but there was a pause before his last name, like it carried weight. The train curved sharply, and Emily shifted in her seat. Without thinking, Ethan moved his arm slightly, giving her more space. Not touching, just protecting. The gesture was small, but it settled something inside her. She noticed it. He noticed that she noticed. Neither of them spoke. The train plunged briefly into darkness as it passed through a tunnel. The lights flickered. For a moment, the world narrowed to the sound of steel on tracks and the quiet tension between 2 strangers pretending not to feel something building. Emily broke the silence. "Do you take this train often?" "More than I'd like," he said. "Today wasn't planned." "Me neither." Their eyes met again. This time it stayed. Something in his gaze softened. Not weakness. Something closer to recognition. "Funny how that works," he said. "The days that change things usually start normal." Her breath caught, and she didn't know why. The train slowed as it approached the next stop. People shifted, stood, grabbed bags. The moment threatened to dissolve into movement and noise. Emily felt a strange urgency rise in her chest. "Where are you going?" she asked. He hesitated. "Just a second too long." "Somewhere I didn't think I'd return to," he said. That answer stayed with her. Felt heavy, personal, almost dangerous. The doors opened. A rush of cold air entered the car. People stepped off. Others stepped in. The rhythm changed. Emily stood without thinking. So, this is me, she said, though she hadn't planned to get off here. Ethan stood too. For a brief second, they were close enough that she could smell his cologne. Clean, subtle, real. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Emily, he said carefully. If you don't want to go, you don't have to. The words hit her harder than she expected. She looked at him, really looked. At the calm strength in his face. At the tension he carried like armor. At the quiet honesty in his eyes. The doors were still open. I know, she said softly. That's the problem. She stepped onto the platform. The doors began to close. For a split second she thought that was it. That this was one of those moments that came and went, leaving only a feeling behind. But just before the doors shut, a hand reached out and stopped them. Ethan stepped out. The train doors closed behind him with a final sound that echoed too loudly in her chest. He stood there, breathing hard, like he had just made a decision he couldn't take back. Emily stared at him. You didn't have to do that. I know, he said. But I wanted to. People passed around them. The station buzzed with noise and movement, but everything felt distant. They stood there, facing each other, two strangers who had just changed their plans for reasons they didn't fully understand. Now what? She asked quietly. Ethan looked at her. His expression serious, almost vulnerable. Now, he said, we find out why this feels like the beginning of something we're not ready for. Emily swallowed. 'Cause deep down she felt it too. And she didn't know if she was brave enough to walk away. The station felt louder than it should have been. People rushed past them, voices overlapping, footsteps echoing against the concrete floor. Yet Emily stood still, facing Ethan, as if the world had quietly narrowed to the space between them. Her heart was still racing from the moment he stepped off the train. She hadn't expected it. She hadn't expected him. Neither of them spoke at first. Ethan broke the silence with a slow breath. I usually don't do things like that. She raised an eyebrow slightly. Jumping off a train for a stranger? A corner of his mouth lifted. Especially that. She nodded, pretending she wasn't affected by the way his eyes stayed on hers a second longer than necessary. Then why did you? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced around, as if making sure the moment was real. Because if I hadn't, I would have spent the rest of the day wondering who you were. That honesty landed softly but deeply. Emily shifted her weight. You could have just asked. I know, he said. But I didn't want to scare you off. Something about that made her chest warm. Too late for that. They walked without deciding where to go, letting their steps fall into rhythm. The station doors slid open, and cool air brushed against her skin as they stepped outside. The city moved around them, cars passing, voices blending, life happening fast, but between them everything felt slower. Do you always trust strangers this easily? She asked. He shook his head. Not anymore. The answer carried weight. She heard it, felt it. They reached the edge of the sidewalk and stopped. For a moment neither spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It felt careful, like both of them were choosing their next words with intention. You look like someone who left something unfinished, he said. Her breath caught. That's a strange thing to say. I know. He paused. But it's what I see. She looked away, swallowing. Maybe I did. A car horn sounded nearby, pulling them back into the moment. She crossed her arms lightly, more for grounding than warmth. And you? She asked. What do I look like to you? He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter. Like someone who's strong because she had to be. Her eyes lifted to his, searching for something she couldn't name. You don't even know me. I know enough, he said. The rest. I'd like to learn. That should have scared her. Instead it felt steady. They started walking again, slower this time, matching each other's pace without effort. Their shoulders brushed once, just slightly. Neither pulled away. So, she said, where were you going before you decided to change your plans? He hesitated. Just a breath. To see someone I haven't seen in years. Her chest tightened. Someone important. Yes. The way he said it made her stop walking. He noticed immediately. You don't have to explain, she said, though something inside her wanted him to. I know. He studied her face. But I don't want to lie either. She appreciated that more than she expected. They reached a small cafe on the corner. Warm light spilled through the windows, soft and inviting. Without thinking, Emily nodded toward it. Do you want to sit for a minute? He looked at the cafe, then back at her. Yeah, I do. Inside, the air smelled like coffee and something sweet. They sat near the window, close enough to feel each other's presence without touching. The noise outside faded into a low hum. A server approached. They ordered without much thought. For a moment neither spoke. Ethan leaned back slightly, his gaze steady. You're wondering why I look like I'm carrying too much. She didn't deny it. He exhaled slowly. I lost someone. A long time ago. Not to death. He paused. To a choice I made. Her heart tightened. Do you regret it? Every muscle in his jaw tensed. Every day. The honesty in his voice made something inside her ache. I'm sorry, she said softly. He shook his head. I don't want sympathy. I just don't trust myself not to hurt people anymore. Her fingers curled around her cup. And yet you stepped off a train for me. A faint smile appeared, but it didn't reach his eyes. That's what scares me. She met his gaze. Maybe it doesn't have to. Silence settled between them again, heavier now. Not uncomfortable, loaded. Outside, a train passed in the distance, the sound low and distant. Emily felt a pull in her chest, strong and unfamiliar. She didn't know this man. Not really. But something about him felt honest in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She leaned forward slightly. You don't have to decide anything today. His eyes searched hers. Neither do you. Their drinks arrived, breaking the moment, but the tension remained, alive and quiet. As they talked, the conversation shifted. Small stories, brief smiles, moments where their laughter overlapped. The weight between them softened, but it never disappeared. It waited. Time passed too quickly. When they finally stood to leave, the light outside had changed. The day was moving on without asking permission. Ethan checked his phone. His expression shifted. I should go, he said. Her chest tightened again. Now. He nodded slowly. Yeah. She wanted to ask where. He didn't. They stood just outside the cafe. The air felt heavier than before. I'm glad I got off that train, he said quietly. So am I. For a moment neither moved. Then he reached into his pocket, hesitated, and pulled his hand back out empty. I don't usually do this, he said again. But I'd like to see you. Her heart skipped. Then ask. He met her eyes. Will you let me? She nodded slowly. Yes. Relief crossed his face, followed by something deeper. Hope, maybe. He took a step closer, stopping just short of touching her. Close enough that she could feel his warmth. I'll call you, he said. I know, she replied. They stood there, suspended in something fragile and real. As he finally turned to leave, Emily felt a strange certainty settle in her chest. This wasn't just a meeting. It was the beginning of something neither of them was ready to face. And as she watched him walk away, one question echoed in her mind. What was he running from? And why did it feel like it was about to collide with her life? Emily didn't sleep that night. She lay on her side, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word, every pause, every look Ethan had given her outside the cafe. The way his voice had softened when he said he would call. The way his eyes had held something back. She told herself it didn't mean anything. That it was just a moment stretched by loneliness and timing. Still, her chest felt tight every time she closed her eyes. Her phone stayed silent. Morning came, then afternoon. She went through her routine, answered emails, smiled when expected to. But her thoughts kept drifting back to the same question. Why did he hesitate? When her phone finally vibrated late that evening, her breath caught before she even looked. "Ethan, are you free tomorrow?" Her reply came too fast. "Emily." Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Ethan, there's something I need to tell you. In person." Her fingers hovered over the screen. A familiar tension settled in her chest. Not fear but awareness. "Emily." They met the next evening near the river, where the city lights reflected softly on the water. The air was cooler, calmer. Place made for honesty. Ethan was already there, leaning against the railing, hands in his pockets. When he saw her, his shoulders relaxed slightly, but his eyes carried something heavier than before. "Hey," she said. "Hey." They stood close, not touching. The space between them felt deliberate, almost careful. "I didn't want to text this," he said. "It didn't feel right." She nodded. "I figured." He looked out at the water. "I meant what I said before. About not trusting myself." Her pulse quickened. "Why?" He took a breath that seemed to come from deep inside him. "Because when I let someone get close, I lose control. And when I lose control, people get hurt." Her instinct was to argue, but she stayed quiet. "There was someone," he continued. "Years ago. You trusted me. I made promises I couldn't keep. Not because I didn't care, but because I thought I knew better than everyone else." His jaw tightened. "I was wrong." Emily felt the weight of his words press against her chest. "What happened to her?" she asked gently. "She left. And she was right to." He swallowed. "I didn't chase her. I told myself it was the mature thing to do. But the truth is, I was afraid to face what I'd done." Silence stretched between them. "That's why I don't let things start anymore," he said. "Because I don't trust where they end." Emily turned to face him fully. "You think you're protecting people. But maybe you're just punishing yourself." His eyes met hers, surprised. "Maybe," he admitted. "But that doesn't make it safe." The honesty in his voice stirred something deep inside her. "You don't get to decide what's safe for me." He looked at her then, really looked at her, as if trying to understand where her courage came from. "That's what scares me," he said quietly. "You don't seem afraid." "I am," she said. "I just don't let it stop me anymore." They stood there, the space between them charged and fragile. He took a small step closer, then stopped himself. "I don't want to hurt you," he said. "And I don't want to keep living like everything meaningful is dangerous," she replied. For a moment, it felt like the world narrowed again, like the air itself was waiting. Ethan reached out slowly, stopping just short of touching her hand. "If this goes further, it won't be easy." She met his gaze. "I'm not looking for easy." Their fingers brushed, just barely. The contact sent a quiet shock through her body. He pulled back almost immediately, like he'd touched fire. "I can't," he said, voice tight. "Not like this." Her heart dropped. "Then why did you come?" "Because I needed to see if walking away still felt right." "And?" she asked softly. He looked at her, pain flickering across his face. "It doesn't." The confession hung between them. Footsteps passed behind them. Laughter echoed somewhere in the distance. Life kept moving. "I should go," he said, though his feet didn't move. Emily nodded slowly. "If that's what you need." He took a step back, then another. Each one felt heavier than the last. Before turning away, he looked at her one final time. "If I disappear for a while, it's not because of you." Her chest tightened. "Then what is it because of?" He hesitated, just long enough for her to know the answer mattered. "Because there's something I have to face," he said. "And if I don't, I'll ruin whatever this could become." He turned and walked away before she could respond. Emily stood there long after he disappeared into the crowd, her heart racing with unanswered questions. She didn't know what he was running from, but she felt it in her bones. Whatever it was coming closer, and somehow she was already part of it. Emily tried to move on with her days, but something inside her had shifted. She went to work, answered emails, smiled when people spoke to her. From the outside, nothing looked different. Inside, everything felt louder. His voice lingered in her thoughts. The way he had looked at her before walking away played again and again, like a moment that refused to settle. He hadn't called. She told herself she wasn't surprised. He had warned her. Still, the silence felt heavier than she expected. 3 days passed. On the 4th night, rain began to fall just as she stepped out of a small bookstore near her apartment. The streetlights reflected off the wet pavement, turning the city into something softer, quieter. She pulled her jacket tighter and started walking. Then she stopped. Across the street, under the glow of a street lamp, stood Ethan. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't rushing. He looked like a man who had been standing there for a while, thinking too much. Her heart skipped. Ethan. He looked up, and the tension in his shoulders loosened the moment he saw her. I was hoping you'd come out soon. She crossed the street slowly, unsure whether to be relieved or upset. You didn't call. I know. His voice was low. I didn't trust myself to talk without showing up. She studied him. His eyes were tired. Not from lack of sleep, but from carrying something heavy for too long. Why are you here? She asked. Because I tried to stay away, he said. And I couldn't. The honesty in his voice weakened her resolve. They stood close, the rain falling softly around them. Neither seemed to notice they were getting wet. I meant what I said, he continued. About not wanting to hurt you. Then don't, she replied quietly. He let out a breath that sounded almost like a laugh, but there was no humor in it. It's not that simple. Then make it simple, she said. Talk to me. He hesitated, then nodded once. Walk with me. They moved down the street together, steps slow, unhurried. The city felt different at night. Less noise, more truth. I grew up learning that love comes with a cost, he began. You care too much, you lose yourself. You choose wrong, and people pay for it. She listened without interrupting. I was younger, confident. I thought love meant pushing forward no matter what. His jaw tightened. I was wrong. What happened? She asked softly. He stopped walking. Rain gathered on his hair, his jacket, his lashes. She trusted me, he said. And I made a decision that took her future out of her hands. I thought I was protecting her. I wasn't. I was controlling her life without realizing it. Emily felt a knot form in her chest. What did she do? She left. She rebuilt herself without me. His voice dropped. And I realized too late that love doesn't mean choosing for someone. It means choosing with them. Silence wrapped around them. That's why I keep my distance now, he continued. Because I don't ever want to take someone's choice away again. Emily stepped closer. You're not doing that now. He looked at her, conflicted. I'm afraid I will. She reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away. When her fingers brushed his arm, he didn't move. You're not the same man anymore, she said. And I'm not someone who needs to be saved or controlled. His breath hitched. You don't know how hard it is to hear that. Then listen anyway. The rain intensified, soaking them both. Still neither moved. I'm not asking for promises, she said. I'm asking for honesty. For presence. For you to stop running before anything even begins. His eyes searched hers, raw and uncertain. What if I fail you? He asked. Then we deal with it, she answered. Together. Something in him cracked then. Not loudly, quietly, like a wall giving way after holding too much weight for too long. He reached out, his hand hovering near her face. I've been trying to protect you. I know, she whispered. But I don't want protection. I want you. The words hung between them, heavy and real. Slowly, carefully. He brushed his thumb against her cheek. The touch was gentle, almost unsure, but it sent a wave of warmth through her. I don't trust myself with you, he said. Then trust me to walk with you, she replied. For a moment the world disappeared. The rain, the city, the noise. All of it faded. He leaned in, stopping just inches from her face. Close enough that she felt his breath. Close enough that time seemed to stretch thin. She didn't move away. Neither did he. But at the last second, he rested his forehead against hers instead of closing the distance. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "So am I," she whispered. "But I'm still here." His hand slid to her waist, careful, respectful, yet full of meaning. Her breath caught. Then his phone vibrated in his pocket. The moment shattered. He pulled back slightly, eyes closing for a brief second, as if bracing himself. When he checked the screen, something changed in his expression. "What is it?" she asked. He looked at her, conflict flashing across his face. "I have to go," he said quietly. Her heart dropped. "Now?" "Yes." "Why?" He hesitated, then met her gaze with a seriousness that made her chest tighten. "Because what I've been avoiding just found me." Before she could ask anything else, he stepped back, rain dripping from his hair. His expression torn between regret and resolve. "I promise I'll explain," he said. "But not yet." And just like that, he turned and disappeared into the rain, leaving Emily standing alone, her heart racing, her mind spinning with questions. She didn't know what he was facing, but she felt it deeply. Whatever it was about to change everything. Emily didn't remember how she got home. She remembered the rain on her skin, the weight in her chest, the echo of his voice saying, "I have to go." Everything else blurred together like a memory she didn't want to touch yet. That night, sleep never came. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him standing there, torn between staying and running. And what hurt most wasn't that he had left. It was that she understood why. Morning arrived quietly, without answers. Her phone stayed silent. She told herself not to check it. She failed every time. Hours passed. Then a full day. And then another. By the second night, the fear crept in. Not fear of rejection, but of unfinished truth. Of something important slipping through her fingers without her ever knowing what it was. On the third evening, her phone rang. Her heart jumped before her mind could catch up. "Ethan." "Yes." His voice sounded strained. "Tired. I'm sorry it took this long." She closed her eyes, relief and worry mixing inside her. "Are you okay?" There was a pause. "Too long." "I will be," he said. I need to see you." Her breath caught. "Now. If you can." She didn't hesitate. "Where?" He gave her an address she didn't recognize. The place was quiet, tucked between old buildings near the edge of the city. When she arrived, she saw him sitting on the steps outside a dimly lit entrance. His shoulders were tense, his hands clasped together like he was holding himself in place. He looked up when he saw her, and something in his expression softened instantly. "You came," he said. "I told you I would." She sat beside him. The silence felt different this time, heavier, sharper. "I didn't want to pull you into this," he said finally. "Into what?" she asked. He looked down. "My past catching up to me." She waited. "There's someone I need to face," he continued. "Someone I hurt. Someone I never made things right with." Her heart tightened. "Is that why you left the other night?" "Yes." His voice was low. "I thought I could keep running. But then I saw you standing there, looking at me like I mattered. And I realized I can't keep pretending I'm someone who doesn't care." She swallowed. "You could have told me. I was afraid you'd walk away." She turned toward him fully. "You don't get to decide that for me." He looked at her then, really looked at her like he was memorizing her face. "I know," he said quietly. "That's what scares me." A long silence settled between them. "I'm meeting her tomorrow," he said. "To finally say what I should have said years ago." Emily's chest tightened. "And after that?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But I do know this, whatever happens, I don't want to disappear on you again." Her voice softened. "Then don't." He hesitated, then nodded. "I won't." She shifted closer, close enough to feel his warmth. You don't have to do this alone. He exhaled slowly. You don't understand how much that means. They sat there side by side, the night wrapping around them. For a moment everything felt calm. Then his phone buzzed. He stiffened. Emily watched his expression change as he read the message. Color drained from his face. What is it? She asked. He swallowed hard. She's here. Her breath caught. Here. She knows where I am. A rush of thoughts filled her mind, but before she could speak, footsteps echoed nearby. A woman approached from the sidewalk, her presence sharp and certain. She stopped a few feet away, her gaze locking onto Ethan. So this is where you disappeared to, the woman said. Ethan stood slowly. Claire. Emily's chest tightened at the name. Claire's eyes flicked to Emily, assessing her in a way that felt too knowing. I see you're not alone. I wasn't hiding, Ethan said. I just didn't know how to face you. Claire let out a short laugh. That's always been your problem. Tension thickened the air. Emily stayed seated, heart racing, unsure whether to speak or stay quiet. I came to finish this, Claire continued. To finally say what should have been said years ago. Ethan nodded. So did I. Silence stretched. Then Claire looked at Emily again. You should know something, she said calmly. He didn't just leave me. He made a choice that changed my life. Emily felt the words hit her chest like a weight. Ethan turned to her. His eyes filled with urgency. It's not what you think. Then tell me, Emily said quietly. Before he could speak, Claire stepped closer. He chose his career over me, she said. Over us. Over everything we planned. Emily's heart pounded. I thought I was protecting us, Ethan said. I was wrong. Claire's expression softened just a little. You were afraid. He nodded. I still am. Emily stood slowly, her legs unsteady. Then why are you here now? Ethan looked at her. His voice barely above a whisper. Because I can't keep living like fear gets to decide who I lose. The words hit her deeply. Claire watched them, something unreadable passing through her eyes. I didn't come to fight, she said quietly. I came to let go. Ethan looked stunned. I needed to see you, she continued, to realize that what happened doesn't define either of us anymore. She glanced at Emily again, softer this time. Take care of him. He carries more than he shows. Then, without another word, she turned and walked away. Silence followed, heavy and trembling. Emily looked at Ethan. His eyes were wet, his breathing uneven. You okay? She asked. He shook his head slightly. I don't know. She stepped closer, placing her hand over his heart. You don't have to be right now. He covered her hand with his own, holding it there like an anchor. I almost lost you, he said quietly. Her breath caught. You didn't. But I could have, he whispered. Their foreheads touched just like before. This time neither pulled away. I don't want to run anymore, he said. Not from you. Her voice trembled. Then don't. His hand slid to her waist, steady and sure. The closeness was different now. Deeper, heavier, real. Just as he leaned in, his phone buzzed again. He froze. Emily felt her heart sink. He looked at the screen, then at her. His expression changing from tenderness to alarm. I have to go, he said urgently. Her stomach dropped. Ethan. This time it's not fear, he said. It's something I can't ignore. Her voice cracked. What is it? He hesitated, pain crossing his face. If I don't leave now, he said quietly, everything I've been trying to protect, including you, could fall apart. He stepped back, torn eyes searching hers. I'll come back, he said. I promise. Before she could answer, he turned and disappeared into the night once more. Emily stood there, heart pounding, hands trembling at her sides. She didn't know what was chasing him, but she knew one thing with painful certainty. Whatever it was about to test everything they had begun to build. Emily didn't move for a long time after Ethan disappeared into the night. The air felt colder, emptier, like something vital had been taken with him. She walked home slowly, every step heavy, replaying his words again and again. "I'll come back." She wanted to believe him. But she had felt the fear in his voice. This time it wasn't confusion. It was urgency. That night sleep refused to come. Her mind kept returning to one question she couldn't silence. What is he trying to protect me from? Morning arrived with a dull gray sky. Emily sat by her window, coffee untouched, her phone resting on the table beside her. Every sound made her glance at it. Every vibration of the building made her heart race. Nothing. By midday, worry turned into something sharper. She stood, grabbed her coat, and made a decision that surprised even her. She wasn't going to wait anymore. She went to the only place that felt connected to everything that had begun, the train station. The same one where they had first met. The moment she stepped inside, memories rushed back. The sound of the rails. The smell of metal and motion. The feeling of being seen for the first time in a long while. She walked slowly, scanning faces she didn't recognize, hoping and not hoping at the same time. And then she saw him. He stood near the platform edge, phone pressed to his ear, his posture tense, his jaw tight. He looked exhausted. But when his eyes lifted and found hers, everything changed. Relief washed over his face so strongly it stole her breath. He ended the call without a word and crossed the distance between them in seconds. "Emily." His voice broke slightly. She stopped in front of him. "You disappeared." "I know." His eyes searched hers. "And I hate that I did that to you." She folded her arms, trying to steady herself. "Then tell me the truth." "All of it." He nodded. "I was afraid you'd walk away if you knew." "Try me." He took a slow breath. "I was offered a job. Permanent one. In another state." Her heart sank. "That's what this is about." "Yes. And no." He ran a hand through his hair. "It's everything I worked for once. The kind of opportunity that changes a life. But it's also the same kind of choice I made before. The kind that cost me someone I loved." Her chest tightened. "And you thought leaving without saying anything was better?" "No," he said immediately. "I thought if I stayed I'd choose you. And I was terrified of what that would mean." She looked at him steadily. "And what would it mean?" His voice dropped. "It would mean risking my heart again. And risking yours." Silence stretched between them. "I don't want to be another mistake in your life," she said softly. "You're not," he replied. "You're the reason I finally understand what I did wrong." She swallowed. "Then why does it feel like you're still running?" He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, something had shifted. "I went to see Claire," he said. "Not to reopen anything. To close it." Emily's breath caught. "She told me she moved on a long time ago. That the pain faded when she stopped waiting for me to choose her." His voice trembled. "She told me I don't get to keep punishing myself forever." Tears filled Emily's eyes. "And what did you decide?" He stepped closer. "That love isn't something you protect yourself from. It's something you show up for." Her breath shook. "Then why does it still feel like goodbye?" "Because I haven't said the most important part yet." He reached for her hands, holding them firmly like he was grounding himself. "I turned down the job." Her eyes widened. "Ethan, I didn't do it for you," he said quickly. "I did it because I finally understand who I am when I stop running. And who I want to be." Emotion rose in her chest, sharp and overwhelming. "You didn't have to give up your future." He shook his head. "I didn't. I chose it." Tears slipped down her cheeks before she could stop them. "I'm scared," she whispered. "So am I," he admitted. "But I'd rather be scared with you than empty without you." She searched his face for doubt and found none. "I can't promise perfection," he continued. "I can't promise I'll never fail. But I can promise I'll stay. I'll talk. I'll fight for us." Her heart pounded. "You mean that?" With everything I am. She stepped closer, resting her forehead against his. Then don't leave again. I won't, he whispered. Not unless you ask me to. Her hand slid to his chest, feeling his heartbeat strong and real. Then stay, she said. He smiled, not the guarded one she'd seen before, but something open, relieved, whole. I'm not going anywhere. Slowly, carefully, he leaned in. This time there was no hesitation, no fear holding him back. Their lips met gently at first, like a question finally answered. Then the kiss deepened, warm and steady, filled with everything they hadn't said and everything they hoped for. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate. It was certain. When they pulled apart, she rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Funny, she murmured. All of this started on a train. He smiled against her hair. Maybe some journeys are meant to begin before we're ready. She looked up at him. And where does this one go? He met her gaze, his eyes full of quiet promise. Wherever we choose, he said. Outside, a train pulled into the station, its doors sliding open. But this time neither of them moved. They didn't need to, because they weren't running anymore. They were exactly where they were meant to be.